Okay, as they say, is this thing on? I guess it is. Um, I was just listening to your vlog, um, which I don't normally do, but I liked it because you were talking about two people whom I'm fairly interested in, Lester Bangs and Pauline Kael. One thing I want to say about Lester Bangs, I always liked the fact that he wrote very much from the moment, from whatever he was feeling at that particular time. And one other thing that was interesting about him regarding the Velvet Underground was a book I read not too long ago about, it was about press coverage of the Velvet Underground by Clifton Halen, I believe his name was. Anyway, he had a kind of interesting, I don't know if you can see this. Can you see this? This was the back of Loaded. There we go. This was the back of Loaded. The thing that Lester Bangs pointed out in his review was he pointed out that the only person shown on here was Doug Yule, who was like a minor member of the band, and he was like the only one left after Lou Reed and John Cale and everyone had split. Well, John Cale had left a long time before, but he was like the only member of the band that was left. And Lester Bangs pointed out that the record company seemed to be saying, oh, it's really Doug Yule's record. You know, they were kind of like thinking that maybe Doug Yule had a career in the making or something. You know, he was like maybe the least member of the band, you know. But I don't know if you can see it, but he's playing guitar, I think, something like that, playing right over here, playing piano or something. Anyway, it was just that was kind of an interesting thing about Lester Bangs. As far as Pauline Kael goes, you know, there's just no getting around her influence, her voice, everything about her. You know, the directness again, like Lester Bangs, the directness of her style. She seemed to have all of her shit together. You know, when it came to how she felt about a movie, and probably my favorite review of hers, I think, the one that I read the most, was for a movie I didn't even like that much. It's called Weekend by Jean-Luc Godard. And I read her review, and I thought it was a great piece of criticism and very illuminating. It was quite a disappointment to see the movie and see that the movie was really just a pile of shit. I mean, it didn't amount to anything. I didn't think. Her review was much better than the movie was. That was occasionally the case. I mean, I could see the movie through her eyes, so to speak. But I couldn't really share her opinion on it. And I found that was true with a lot of her reviews. You didn't always wind up agreeing, but you always wound up very impressed by the depth of her knowledge, her ability to harness all of her thoughts into fairly compelling prose. And she wrote like no one else. Um, there were a number of other critics at the same time that I enjoyed reading, but there's almost like no one that I miss as much as Pauline Kael. I still love reading her. I still love going back and seeing what she had to say. And one thing that I think is what makes Pauline Kael fantastic and maybe better than just about any other critic is that, you know how when you watch a movie and you think it's fantastic, and then you look at it later and say, you know, it was overrated, it wasn't that good. Pauline Kael is already at that point before you are, or at least before I am. She sees through it. She kind of sees through the immediate response of it and sees Are we back? She sees through the immediate response of it and sees to the reality of it. You know, how it will look in the long term. And I think that's what makes her a great critic. So anyway, keep vlogging, Ricky. And I like the fact that you that you got so much out of that one cigarette. So I'll see you later.